this was no boating accident. It wasn't a propeller, it wasn't a coral reef, and it wasn't Jack the Ripper. It was a 45. Okay, you caught me. I'm out here at the range doing a head-to-head for the Slugfest 45 ACP Slugfest between Glock 30s and Springfield XD-45 Mod 2. The Glock 30s I've had for some time, and this is a, to me this has proven itself. It's a carry gun. I've carried it a lot, and I've carried it for a long time. There also is a 9-round magazine you can get that's even a little less obtrusive and is flush with the back of the polymer pistol, but I don't have any of those. I just have the 10-rounder, and I've got, of course, the Talon grip on the pistol and on the base plate extension on the magazine. So next up, the Springfield XD Mod 2, relatively new for this year. This is the 45. XD-45 Mod 2. I did a first 100 with this gun not too terribly long ago, and I loved it, and I still do. I haven't carried it at all yet. I don't have any holster for it other than the one that comes with the pistol, which is adequate, but certainly not something you'd carry the gun with. It's extremely comfortable. I love the ergonomics. I love the changes they made. They made extremely good changes to an already good gun, and that's not necessarily a no-brainer, you know. Tampering with success can be very dangerous. Going head-to-head with two really fine pistols is about as fun as it gets. The Springfield XD Mod 2 45 ACP. This is the 3.3-inch double stack. Going against the Glock 30s. Very similar guns. Very fun to compare. I'm going to do a little shooting at 10 yards. And I've challenged myself with just a 1-inch diameter dot. I'm going to use the head of the target for the Springfield. I'm going to use the body of the target for the Glock. And just have a little fun with it. Right now I'm shooting Remington UMC. Now with a Glock 30s. Same thing, 10 yards. 1-inch diameter dot at the body of the target. I'll talk about the sights on both of these guns in a little bit. They are different. I loaded the Glock down to just 9 rounds, so they have the same as the Springfield. That is one advantage of the Glock. With this magazine, the standard magazine, it holds 10 rounds. The XD-45, with its standard magazine, holds just 9. Okay, so when I get these things back to a nice quiet workbench, I'll run through the specifications and post all that information up on the screen for you. But they are extremely close in size, in weight, in everything. There's a lot of difference in the triggers, and I've talked about that a little bit, and I'll probably try and talk about that a little bit more. Other than that, I don't know how much is almost not identical between the two. I'm getting ready to load up some magazines and do some 25-yard accuracy testing. Just for fun, I'm just going to use this bag, rest the gun on the bag, so it's not going to be, bench vise or anything sophisticated like that. There's still going to be a lot of room for human error, and I'm definitely a human who has a lot of error, so... But, both guns get shot by the same person on the same day. So it is what it is, right? So I'm gonna set that up. We're gonna run a few different kinds of ammo through it. We're gonna run some Freedom Munitions, some Federal American Eagle, some Sig Sauer Elite Performance, and then I'm actually gonna run a couple of loads of hand loads because I need to test the ammo anyway, and it's a great opportunity to test both of these guns. One of them is a jacketed hollow point round that is 200 grain that I load myself, and the other is a 200 grain lead semi-wad cutter. So it's going to give me a chance to see how both of those types of ammo perform in these guns, as well as testing the ammo itself at distance. So let's get that done. Let's get these things loaded up and start shooting at 25 yards, see how they match up. Alright, so I did some 25-yard accuracy tests with both of these guns, and nothing super scientific, just rested as you see here. But in both cases, for both guns, the SIG, the Elite Performance, performed elitist, I guess. But it actually gave the best groups out of both guns, the SIG Sauer ammo. And so here's that group here. This is for the XD-45. And that is a 3.5-inch group for the 5 rounds. And if you look at the best 3, it's just over 2.183. So 2 1/8. And then out of the Glock, also, best group was the SIG ammo. And it was 2.7 for the 5-shot group and 1.4 something for the best 3 out of that 5. So definitely performed even better out of the Glock than it did out of the XD. Sort of spread out vertically, a little bit horizontally, but mostly vertically. And then the Glock 30 also spread vertically a little bit, and a little bit more maybe side to side. Very similar in group sizes though. I haven't actually put a ruler on those, but it looks like the Glock 30 held a little tighter group, but not by a whole lot. So I'd say if based on these results, if I had to say which one of these guns was more accurate, I'd say it's probably the Glock, but just by a little bit. As I said, there are extensions options for both of these guns. The Glock 30s will accept the Glock 21 magazine, Glock 21, Glock 41. This is the full-size 13-round 45 ACP Glock magazine. Works perfectly in the Glock 30s. In fact, not too long ago, I shot an entire IDPA classifier match with the Glock 30s, and I used a combination of the 10-round magazines and the 13-round magazines so that I didn't have to reload many mags during the entire classifier. But it's great to be able to use that. Now, I'm sure somewhere somebody probably makes a sleeve. I don't know offhand. I'm sure somebody will post that in the comments. But I'm sure you can get a sleeve to extend the grip down to the bottom of this magazine, but I kind of don't mind it the way it is. And of course the Springfield, and I'll show you that one in a minute, has the 13-rounder with the sleeve that comes with the pistol. So let's continue on, and using the Glock, we're going to go to the body. We're going to finish up this Remington UMC. Same target, same distance. Now I can tell that when I hold this front sight where it belongs, I'm hitting just about that 11 o'clock position there, where you see that, that big hole being eaten in the target. So the shots that are wandering around are definitely me, much more so than the gun or the ammo. I find Remington UMC ball actually to be pretty darn accurate. I like it a lot. All right, so the Springfield XD has this extension already on the 13-round magazine that comes with the pistol. And it gives you, for my hand, much more grip than you even need. I'm barely touching any of that extension, but it definitely gives you a lot more ammo. So with 13 rounds, same. The trigger is just more comfortable on the XD. Trigger's a little lighter, and it's just more comfortable. You know, it doesn't have that hard feel that the Glock trigger has. And I know opponents of the Springfield will say that it's squishy feeling. And it is a little, not as bad as it used to be. They've improved it. But it's just, to me, I don't know, it's a more comfortable feel. It's not quite as tactile on the reset. And it's got a little bit of a longer stroke than the Glock. So it really is going to come down to personal preference. If trigger is a super important thing to you, and it's, it's important to all of us to some degree, but if trigger is really the deal breaker for you, I would definitely recommend that you shoot both of the guns before you make a decision. At 10 yards, with the Remington UMC 230 grain ball, trying to find my groove. Going for the head with the Springfield XD. The sights on this gun are really nice. That front red filament fiber optic sight gives you a great picture, especially against a green dot. Trigger is nice. Doesn't have that hard feel like the Glock, but some people will say it has a squishy feel, which it kind of does. Handles the recoil really nice for a pistol its size and 45 caliber. Polymer frame, fairly light, but it's a smooth shooter. It's a lot of fun to shoot. This grip, as I have said in the past, is really nice. It's more than just a good marketing scheme. It really does make a difference. Although I do find that, with most small 45s, I'm going to constantly be readjusting my grip because I'm going to lose that. That support hand is always going to slide around. But that said, it's a very comfortable grip, very ergonomic, and easy to keep the pistol on target. The Glock 30s is sporting a Talon rubberized grip. And to me, that really kind of evens the playing field because the Glock by itself would have a far inferior, in my opinion, grip to the Springfield. But once you put a Talon on here, that changes everything. So going to the body. Now on this Glock 30s, I have Ameriglow sights installed. So I'll talk about those probably at the workbench a little bit, give you a good idea what that looks like. Maybe I will do a close-up of the sight picture. But that's a big sort of a lime green dot. And I'm holding just at the 6 o'clock of the dot on the target. You can see I'm consistently just a little bit to the left with the Glock. More centered with the Springfield, but in both cases I'm stringing them vertically a little bit. Let's run through the specs real quick on these two pistols. You can see right here the length difference, and that length is 6.5 inches for the XD-45, which is here. 6.96 inches, almost 7 inches, for the Glock 30s, which is right here. Alright, so let's go over the general specs of these two pistols. I'm going to use the specs for just the flush mount small magazine for the XD because there are separate specs for some of the dimensions for the extended magazine. But let's just go with that, and it keeps it a little more apples to apples. The weight is 26 ounces for the XD-45, 22.95 ounces for the Glock 30s. So Glock 30 is a little lighter. Height is 4.75 for the XD, 4.8 for the Glock, so that's almost exact. If you stand these two together here with these two magazines, they are almost identical in height. I know it's hard to see that with me holding it up like this, but virtually identical. The length, 6.5 inches for the XD, 6.96 for the Glock. So there is a noticeable length difference of just about a half an inch for the Glock. The barrel is 3.3 inches in the XD, and the barrel is 3.77 inches in the Glock, and that's a real standard barrel size really for both guns. Glock has a lot of pistols with a 3.77 inch barrel, and Springfield of course has a lot of pistols with a 3.3 inch barrel. So both of them are sort of flying the company colors there. The width is 1.2 inches for the XD, 1.27 for the Glock. Again, real close. You know, when you're out to the hundredths like that, you're really talking about pretty comparable numbers. So no real distinct advantage or disadvantage there. Capacity is of course 9 for the XD, and that would be with this magazine. 10 for the Glock 30s with this magazine. These are both what I would call the standard magazines. If you go out today and buy a Glock 30s, it's going to come with these magazines. That's a 10 rounder. Talked a little bit about the sights at the range, and here's a look at them against this blue contrast, which is kind of good. Springfield XD comes with the 3-dot, but that front is a red fiber optic. It's a nice sight, and it's good to get that standard. There's no tritium in it, so in the dark it's dark, but in the daylight it does glow nicely. Now this Glock, as I mentioned, has aftermarket sights, so that really is not a meaningful comparison at all, but just to give you a peek, it's wearing Mariglow. These are competition sights that I really like, but that front sight does contain tritium, and it will glow in the dark. So if you're looking at a small, compact 45 ACP, and these two guns are on your list, maybe these are the only two guns on your list, or maybe they're just near the top, your decision really is going to be, I think, based on several different choices. First and foremost, you may have a brand preference, or a lot of people may have a brand preference, and if you do, you're going to be leaning toward one or the other right off the bat. If you're a Glock person, you're going to go Glock. If you're a Springfield Armory person, you're going to go Springfield Armory. Or at least, you know, the decision belongs to that gun to be lost, right? So it could be brand. I think the next big decision point is the triggers. The triggers are different in these guns. The Glock has, of course, its standard Glock trigger. Let me just run these two triggers. The Glock trigger is pretty long, pretty heavy, but it's very crisp. You know what to expect because most all Glocks have the same trigger, and you get that really good tactile feedback, and it's relatively short. And again, so that's a Glock. The Springfield, the trigger is softer, feels much softer. I'd say the stroke is a little bit longer. There's more take up, not a whole lot more, but a little bit, but it's just soft. And then you have the break. The break is not quite as crisp, but it is lighter and a little softer feeling. Reset, longer than Glock. The feedback is good, both audible and tactile. And then you have some more take up again, unlike the Glock, which you really don't have any take up after the reset, and then that break. So I don't mind it. I think it's still better than it used to be. And it's a little softer. It's a little easier on your finger, to be honest. If you're going to go out and shoot a few hundred rounds, this one's going to make your finger a little tender. This one's not. So that's another decision point. I would say you really just have to try and shoot the two guns. At the very least, you need to pick them up and dry fire them if you can. One of the other decision points that you may make, or that some people certainly will have an opinion about, is grip safety on the Springfield Armory XD versus no grip safety on the Glock. There are some people who say they won't own a pistol without the grip safety because they believe it really serves a very important purpose. And there are some people that will not buy a pistol because it has the grip safety, because they feel it is a detriment. So I don't know if you have an opinion one way or the other. I personally don't care. I'm going to tell you honestly, I really don't care. The grip safety does not bother me on the Springfields. I've never had any kind of malfunction because I wasn't depressing the grip safety. And I don't feel it. It's not, it's not stiff. It doesn't hurt my hand. I don't even notice it. Never give it any conscious thought while I'm shooting. I have also never had an accidental or negligent discharge with a Glock for lack of the grip safety. So I really have no opinion. Lastly, one of the things that may help sway you one way or another is the accessories department. What comes with pistols. If you're looking for kind of the all-in-one, you're definitely going to lean maybe toward the Springfield because you get the holster, you get the mag pouch, you get the, I think they give you a mag loader as well, and you get usually a few different magazines, and you get that extended magazine with it. So it's well appointed at the point of purchase where you can kind of take it right to the range and use it. The Glock comes with either 2 or 3 magazines, depending on which version of the pistol you buy. Comes with either the standard sight or the night sights, depending again on which version you buy, and that's pretty much it. They're not going to give you any kind of accessories like holsters or mag pouches or any of that. It does come with a mag loader. Neither mag loaders that either pistol comes with I think are all that terribly useful, but they each have one. So that might be another decision point. Aside from that, it's going to be just personal preferences, all about personal preferences. The ergonomics are good on both pistols. I like them a lot. I've talked about this Glock 30 quite a bit, and it's one of my favorite guns. And I have shot IDPA competition with it. This gun I like a whole lot. This is new, and it's new to me as well. I haven't had it all that terribly long, but I really like the Mod 2. I like the reshaping of the grip, and I like the abrasion that they've put on it. It does do its job. I think it's more than just marketing hype, so I'm on board with it. As far as takedown, I'm not going to tear these 2 pistols down. You know what they look like, but they're both pretty easy. One Glock has the just the slide lock that you have to relieve here, and then this has a takedown lever that essentially accomplishes the same thing. They both come apart the same way. They both have the same components inside. All right, well, there's a good detailed look, I hope, at 2 really good handguns. I hope you weren't expecting me to pick a winner or a loser, because I usually don't, unless there's a clear choice, in which case I would. But there's not here. These are very, very equal pistols. I like them both. I'd have a hard time. The questions in the comments usually are, well, if you could only pick one, which one would it be? Well, I mean, if that truly was a choice, it probably would be the Glock for a lot of reasons, none of which are because it's necessarily a better gun, but just, for a lot of reasons of convenience and, platform and all that kind of stuff. But they're both great guns. I like the grip zone in the Mod 2. I like Springfields anyway. If you flip a coin and pick either one of these guns, you've got yourself a really good gun. Okay, so from the range, some of my thoughts before I get home and forget about how things felt. Both of these pistols, as I've said many times and will continue to, are extremely good quality. Both are a joy to shoot. They both have extreme advantages in their own way. But I find now that the Grip Zone Mod 2 version of the XD really elevates its status to me as for the shooting experience. I mean, the ergonomics are so much improved that it is, it's really effortless to shoot. It manages recoil, in my opinion, and this is after, again, having just shot both of these guns considerably today, and having just done some accuracy tests. And I find that when I'm doing the slow, concentrated shooting at 25 yards, I feel everything. I feel I feel the trigger in every way. I feel the recoil. I see the sights lift and come back, and I get a feel for how flat the gun shoots and how quick it is to recover the sight picture. All those things. It's sort of like being in an accident and everything goes into slow motion. That's really kind of how it feels to me when I'm shooting the 25-yard accuracy, and so that's where I get a lot of thoughts about the pistols. And from that, the trigger of the Springfield Armory XD-45 Mod 2 feels much better to me than the trigger of the 30s, the Glock 30s. The Glock has a pretty typical Glock trigger. It's heavy and it's a little harsh. I mean, it's hard on your fingers. Glock triggers are not the nicest triggers to shoot. I don't think anybody, even the biggest of fanboys, is going to argue too much there. Otherwise, they wouldn't sell so many aftermarket trigger kits. But that said, it is what it is. It's a Glock trigger, and it functions exactly like you expect it to. But it's a little tougher on my fingers. The XD pistol the trigger is a softer feel. It's smoother. Yes, there's a little sponginess to it, but not like the XD of old. Not like, the XD from just a couple years ago. It's a much crisper trigger than it used to be, but the pull feels smooth and much lighter. And I find that it is a much more comfortable gun to shoot in that respect. I like the ergonomics a whole lot. Glock ergonomics are Glock ergonomics. You're not going to, last year's Glock feels just like this year's Glock and feels just like next year's Glock and last decade's Glock. So nothing's changed there. The 30S is a Gen 3 Glock, so the Talon grip is really a must-have on that, and that gives it a really nice feel. I may go ahead and put a Talon grip on here just to feel the difference, because I love Talon grips, and I have no doubt that it's going to enhance that in some way. But this is really pretty darn nice to shoot right out of the box, so whatever that's worth. What else? The sight pictures are good on both, but the Glock is wearing aftermarket sights and the XD is wearing stock sights. So I would prefer the XD sights over a Glock standard. So if this had stock sights on it, I would definitely be favoring the XD. Let me just say it that way. Shot a lot of different ammo today. I've shot, what did I shoot? I shot a bunch of Remington UMC. I really like that ammo. I shot a lot of Sig Sauer, Elite Performance ball ammo. I shot some Federal American Eagle. I shot some Freedom Munitions, and I shot a couple of my own hand loads because I wanted to test them, so I figured I'd kill two birds with one stone. So I did some of that. And as a little qualifier, I did shoot some lead semi-wad cutters through this Glock, and we all know that is nothing short of sacrilege. But I did it anyway, because that's how I am.